Chapter 10, Lesson 4 is comparing and ordering decimals. So just as before, when we compare, we don't want to be looking at the whole thing. So we want to just be looking at a single place value at a time to reduce confusion. Okay, so also, we need to remember that if it says more than, it usually means to add. If it says less than, it usually means to subtract. And I say usually because there are times that you're technically adding when it's less than. Depends on how the problem is worded. And finally, if we're looking at a pattern and what's missing is towards the front, what you want to do is work towards the end first, find the pattern, and then work back. Okay, so the examples that we will be doing comes from page 72. Okay, so again, the first problem says, which decimal is the greatest? So if we look at this, best thing to do is look at the 10th place. So clearly, the 6 is bigger than the 5, and clearly the 6 is bigger than the 0, which means this is the greatest. So again, we don't need to look at all the digits. We just need to look at one single place value at a time. So in the next problem, it says which decimal is the smallest. So if it says which decimal is the smallest, then that means we look at first the 2's. Those are all the same. So then we go to the 10th place. So here we have a 0, a 7, a 4, and a 4. So clearly the 0 is the smallest. So that means this will be the smallest. Okay, and in number 6, it says arrange in decreasing order. So that means I'm going to rewrite this as 0.345, 0.5, because a half is 0.5. Okay, and this is 0.45. So the reason for why a half is 0.5 is if I multiply that by 50, it becomes 100. So that means that equivalent to a half is 50 over 100, which is 0.50. Okay, so which means if I look at this and it says arrange in decreasing order, I gotta look for the largest one first. So looking at 3, 5, and 4, the largest is this. So I'm gonna number it as number 1 and then write the final answer after. The next is to look between 3 and 4. The 4 is larger. So that means that will be the 2 and this will be the 3. So in decreasing order, 1/2, then 0.45, then 0.345. So these are the comparing. Shortly, we will see the ordering or the patterns. Continuing on to page 76, we will do 2 more problems. Okay, so looking at problem number 3, letter B, the first question says, blank is 0.01 less than 3.4. So that means the operation is 3.40 minus 0.01. So if we do mental math, we know that the 3 stays. And this is 40 minus 1 is 39. So which means our answer should be 3.39. The next question says, what is 0.001 more than 5.675? So again, if I do the equation, this is plus 0.01 and this is 5.675. So if we look at what we're looking at would be the 100th place. So if you add, this is 5.675. 0.85. Okay, so which means in the next one it says 0.001 less than 9.076 is what? Okay, so again, the operation here would have been 9.076 less than, so that less than that is 0.001. So again, if we look at this, we are comparing or we are subtracting the thousandths place. So everything before the thousandths place stays the same, and then we subtract. So that's 9.075. Okay, in problem number 4, it says to complete the pattern. So again, what we're doing is to go from one number to another, we just look at specific digits. So here, they're all starting with 13, so the 13 is irrelevant. So that means from 0.9, it became 0.8, so that means we minus 0.1. So we minus again 0.1, and therefore, here, if the pattern continues, this is minus 0.1. So if we minus, that will be 13.4. Okay, so similarly, if I look at this, that's a 5, that's a 5, that's a 5, that's a 2, 2, 2. So that means it's the hundredths place that we are looking at. So that means I minus a 2 on there, I minus another 2 on there, but that's not really minus 2, that's minus 0.02. Okay, which means this stays 5.227. And if I confirm, I take that and I minus again a 0.02, then that means that's 5.207. Confirmed. Okay, the last one, if we look at the pattern, the missing number is in the front. So what we got to do is look at what happens towards the end and then we work back. So if I look at this, they all start with 1. That's a 2. So if I look at, that's 28 goes to 32. That means I'm adding 0.004. Which means I'm going to add again plus 0.004. And if I confirm, that's technically a 0 there because when there's nothing at the end, there's technically a 0 at the end. Okay, and that's confirmed. So therefore, I can do two ways. Either I go plus 0.004 and imagine that that's 0.124, or I subtract the other way. So if I'm going back, I'm gonna do the opposite operation as when I'm moving forward. So since this is a plus 0.004, working back just means I gotta subtract by 0.04. Clearly, the strategies for this lesson is similar to the strategies that we've used for fractions. So that concludes our lesson, and I'll see you guys in the next